Good morning. I'm sitting out here in the PassionVine Nursery, and I've kind of started calling it the nursery because every year new PassionVine pups start popping up, and so there are all these little babies that are out here every year. They're new little members of the family, so it really does feel like this sacred little nursery of what's to come for later in the spring and the summer. So I was sitting out here the other day with a new friend, and we were discussing life and yoga and just having a good visit. And she asked me, well, where did the brooms come in? How did you get into broom making? And people ask me that question fairly often, and especially at places where we'll go and I'm doing different broom making demonstrations if we're out selling brooms somewhere. And there's a long version of the story and there's a short version. So I figured that perhaps I could share the longer version of how this practice came to be here on YouTube with you all. So it was about 2011, or how time is. I'm always kind of confused on what year, what thing happened. So I think that this is around 2011, and I was reading this book called Natural Qi Movement that was written by Tianko Ting, and he's a Qigong master. And in this book, he was talking about messenger qi and distance qi and, sending your qi across the ocean and doing these distance activations. And I was very intrigued by that. And I decided just within myself that if he truly is who he says he is, and this messenger qi stuff is actually a thing, then I should be able to reach out to him using my own messenger qi and have a conversation, have a visit with him, and get him to respond. And so I became really, really fixated on this, and every day I would sit in meditation and reach out to him. And in my mind, I guess I was thinking that he would respond by, calling me up or sending me a Facebook friend request or something like that. So I was kind of keeping my eye out for those things. But this lasted about 2 weeks. Every day I would sit in meditation and reach out to Tianko Ting and try to get him to respond. And many of you know that a lot of the work that I do comes from dreams, and it's not like this big deal. It's not like I go on these deep travels in my dreams or anything like that, but a lot of my inspiration, I'll have a dream about something and it will kind of show me what's next. Or, last night I was dreaming about those Hopi black sunflowers were talking to me and telling me what I needed to do. So those kind of dreams happen quite often in my experience. And so unexpectedly, Tianko Ting came to me in a dream. And in this dream, he and I were walking through this beautiful, beautiful meditation garden. And I was looking around at all the beautiful plants, and we were just kind of strolling along. So we came to the first section of this garden, and there were all these people that were seated in meditation. And I was thinking to myself, oh wow, that's so beautiful. Look at all these people that are sitting here meditating. How lovely is that? And then we carried on and we kept on walking, and we came to this next group of people that were all buried in the earth up to their necks. And so it's just this like group of heads, and I knew that their bodies were buried. And I also knew that this was like the next level of this meditation that was happening in this garden. And I was like, wow, you know, that's really intense that those people are just buried like that, and the only thing that's showing is their heads. That's a really intense like meditation that they're doing. And then we carried on, and we came to this third section where there were these platforms, and there were people lying on the platforms, and the platforms were covered in this glass, like a thick glass where you could see the people lying there. And within my mind in this dream, I just knew that these people had reached a stage of meditation where they had decided, they had made a conscious decision to leave their bodies. And so their bodies were still there, and they were fully preserved because they didn't, you know, die in this traditional sense, but they had chosen that it was just time to go. And so here were their bodies preserved under this glass. And so we took pause there for a moment, and then we kept walking. And we stopped, and I looked to him and I said, Master, what is the path to enlightenment? And he looked at me and he said, in order to reach enlightenment, you must sweep the floor. And then I woke up. And you know, you have these dreams, or I don't know about you guys, but I have these dreams that are interrupted and I want to finish them so badly. So I was like, what? In order to reach enlightenment, you must sweep the floor. And I was like, no, that can't be it. So I tried to go back to sleep. I tried to, you know, pick up where I left off in that dream, and it was over. It was gone. And that was all that was there. And he didn't come to me in a dream again. And so I went through this frustration of, you know, oh, you didn't answer my question. Surely that's not the answer to the question that I asked you. Something as profound as, what is the path to enlightenment? And so in the way that things unfold, as they usually do, I was on my own. And so I just began to really sit with this concept of, what does it mean to sweep the floor? What does that mean? What could that message have meant for me? And on a very physical level, you know, sweeping the floor. My house is filthy, so I need to go in there and I need to sweep the floor physically. And that's where the brooms have kind of come in on a manifestation in this physical plane. But you know, sweeping the floor means a lot of different things to us as we carry on this journey of being spiritual beings who are having this human experience. So from that lens, sweeping the floor, if we know that it's true that there is nothing outside of yourself, then how do we take this concept of sweeping the floor? How do we take that within? How do we turn our eyes to look inside and sort out, you know, what does it mean to sweep the inner floor? And what I've come up with, you know, I'm still contemplating this, and it's a huge part of my practice and my inspiration for what I do and how I move through the world. And back then in 2011, my life was a mess. It was a mess. And so I began teaching about this thing of sweeping the floor. And in this way of teaching, the sweeping came inside of me, and I began to really take a close look at myself. And you know, that's hard and it's terrifying. You know, we all have our trauma, we all have our patterns, we all have our karma that we are sweeping through. And so on a very internal level, sweeping the floor is taking a good look at yourself, looking at the parts that you consider to be ugly or beautiful or suffering or peaceful, all of these different layers that we have that spiral inside, looking at our patterns, our habits, our reactions, the things that we tell ourselves and the stories that we have that just simply are not true. So this deep internal work of being alone, being still, being quiet, closing our eyes and going within, listening so deeply that even those things that are terrifying begin to rise up to the surface, and we begin to sweep. So we sweep out these cobwebs, we sweep out these old stories, we sweep out abuse, we sweep out trauma, and we begin to transform. So sweeping the floor, this internal work continues, and it begins to overflow into our external experience. It overflows into our families, our friends, our communities, and into the world. But it's like, Jordan Peterson has this saying of clean your room. And that's always resonated with me when I've heard him say that, because it's just like sweep the floor, And it is all about this beingness. So how do we create change? It all starts within. So we can't go out there in the world and create all this change if we can't even sit with ourselves. Can you sit with yourself and look at your own demons and look at your own karma that's traveled maybe lifetimes, millions of lifetimes to reach you here today? Can we look at our own suffering, and can we sit in that? Can we sit in the fire of the soul and begin to sweep? It is that level of beingness that we cultivate within, so that we raise our vibration so high that when we do step out of our home, when we do sit with friends, or we do interact with our family, that level of beingness that we've cultivated from sweeping our own internal floor, it touches everyone that we meet. And there's really not even anything that needs to be said. It's this beingness. It's not, that saying, don't talk about it, be about it. It's that beingness that we carry from that deep, sometimes scary, sometimes terrifying work of taking a really good close look at ourselves. So we could go on and on and on. There are so many ways. Like we say in the South, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And there's so many different ways that we can look at this. So, yeah, that is the long version of how the broom making came into my life through some dream experiences. And every time that I'm making a broom, I'm sweeping the floor. Every time I'm sweeping the floor, I am thinking of this concept of what does it mean to ritually clean, and what is this sweeping that we're doing when we're sweeping our altars, when we are sweeping our body, when we're sweeping the floor of the soul. What does that mean to you? What does it mean to sweep the floor? So, that's it. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I hope that you all are taking a moment to look around and see how beautiful things are. And I'll join you here in the Passion Flower Nursery. Passion flowers are getting big. Oh, let me show you this before we go. Here's one of, oh, look, this guy was closed when I started the video, and now look at that. So the passion vine is in bloom. as we all are. In order to reach enlightenment, you must sweep the floor. Namaste.